Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm trying to pose in an effort to get a good thumbnail because it just picks what it wants. But welcome back to my channel. I'm here to review Seeking Sister Wives Season 3, Episode 6, Got to Be Real. So let's jump on into it because I'm trying to get this done before work. And I'm also trying to be really consistent with my uploads. I tend to upload these videos on Wednesdays. I like to watch it twice. It comes on Monday nights. I watch it Monday night and then I watch it again like on Tuesday. So it really like sinks in and I can really think about what I've seen before I give it to you guys. So let's jump on in with the Winders. They did have a big thing happen. They welcomed a new baby. But before we get to that, they share with us that COVID has affected their filming scheduling. And also it has put a halt on the visit they were going to have with their potential third sister wife, Kimberly, who lives in North Carolina. What with restrictions and flying and all that, everybody agreed it was best to sort of put the trip off for a while. And that way they can also just sort of really focus on Sophie and her impending, baby she's about to have. So that's exactly what happens. Sophie goes into labor. It's a bummer that COVID doesn't allow for her mom to be in the room with her or Tammy, her sister wife. It's just Colton with her in the delivery room, but they FaceTime everybody in, like, and it is, we can see and they're all watching her like push, and her mom is just like push, 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 and I'm just like, Mama, shh, shut up. Like, I don't mean to be mean. Her mom is very sweet, but it was very distracting. Like, if I were Sophie, I'd be like, Mom, please, you're distracting me. I'm trying to give birth here. But it was very sweet. You know, it's great that she has a very supportive mom who seems to be very loving to the whole family. She had like Sadie, Tammy, and Colton's daughter sitting on her lap, and so she gives birth and they go home later that night. It's like, damn, like, does she not get like an overnight recovery stay? I guess not. Is that because of COVID? But anyhow, they take the new baby home. They name him Ephraim. It's a name that Colton had come up while she was he'd come up with while she was pregnant, that she really liked. So the next morning, you know, Colton goes and gets his daughter with Tammy, Sadie, who was adorable, by the way, and tell her like, oh, let's go meet your new baby brother. And it was a sweet moment, you guys. They were all sort of in bed, holding the baby, passing him along. Sadie's like rubbing his head. It was sweet. What can I say? Congratulations to the Winders. Moving on to the Joneses. Really not much happened here either. They have decided to put themselves on a few dating apps. They said mainstream ones. I'm assuming Tinder, Bumble, Match.com. I'm familiar with them. So they take a couple selfies to put up, and then they start filling out their profile, and Tasha's like, okay, Sidian, like, how old do we want her to be? And he's like, 25 to 34. She's like, okay, ethnicity, like, we don't really care about that, right? He's like, no, we don't really care about that. And she's like, okay, you know, typing it in. And then she says, body type, we don't really care about that, right? And he's like, oh, hold on. He's like, why don't you put down curvy? And she's like, okay, curvy, you know. And then the question comes up, like, how do you feel about your potential girlfriend, you know, having kids, wanting kids? And Tasha shares that it's not a problem if they meet somebody who doesn't have kids and isn't ready to have kids right now. She's kind of in the same boat. However, you know, this person definitely needs to be open to kids because Sidine already has some, and also needs to be open to having kids in the future because they see themselves having a big family. So so they upload their profile, and Sidian's kind of just swiping through, you know, cruising, perusing. They don't come upon anybody specific. I guess we'll wait and see you know, the response they get on these apps. So that's them, quick segment. Moving on to the Snowdens. So it is now Dimitri's turn to take Taylor out on their solo one-on-one date. He takes her to, this is like a bar, you know, they have drinks and little appetizers like tapas, you know, and he says he wants to have like a real sort of in-depth conversation with Taylor because he still has concerns about her being able to handle instant motherhood, which again, I don't think is the issue, because when he brings that up to her, you know, like, you know, going from being single to, you know, having potentially 5 kids is a lot for you. And she's just like, you know, I think I have a good relationship with your kids. We all seem to get along. You know, I don't think it's going to be a problem. You know, she says like, I don't kid myself into thinking there won't be days where I'll wake up wishing I could sleep in, but I think this will be fine. And then he brings up his other concern. Well, how are you going to deal with sort of like the day-to-day mundane like nothingness that a relationship can be sometimes? Because he says, like, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a businessman, like, it can be pretty mundane when it comes to just everyday to day life. And like I said in my last review, he's like, I feel like he is saying these things to kind of like scare her, like warn her, because she says, like, are you telling me this, like, worst case scenario, so I'll head for the hills? And he's like, no, I'm telling you this because I need you to understand like what this all really entails. Because he shares like his problem in the past with kind of navigating multiple wives was that in his mind, like, he thought as long as I'm providing for you, paying for your bills, and blowing your back out, like, that's all that really needs to be done. I think that's kind of what Garrick thinks polygamy is, but we'll get to him later. Dimitri's like, yeah, it's more than that. And she's like, yeah, I get that. I understand that as long as there's a balance being created within the family where I get a little bit of me time and I get your attention, then I think this can all be worked out. Like, I don't see it being a problem. But she said that, speaking of like, attention, like if I have a need, like if I'm needing, your time, like, do I just tell you? And he's like, yeah, if he says, if I am like underserving you, just let me know, like ring my bell, I'll be there. And she's like, oh, that's good because, while we're talking about that, I need to let you know, like, me and Chrissy came up with the D schedule. Here we go with the Dick schedule again, you guys. Like, I didn't mention in my last review, she is like totally hot in the pants for Dimitri. She said like, he makes her tingle in all areas. Like, she's sitting there at this date, just undressing him with her eyes, just like, she's totally into him. She can't get her mind off the peen. So he's like, oh, a D schedule? Like, is somebody going to share with me, like, what's happening with my penis? And she's like, well, it's our penis. I don't know that she actually gets to sharing it with him because he tells the camera, the thought of having 3 potential sister wives is a bit overwhelming for him because, he's got his regular work, he's got kids, and now he's got 3 women he's got to tend to. So he says, each woman will get their day, will get a day. And, if in that day another wife, has a need, that could be worked out. But I feel like that's more of like, not an everyday occurrence. Like, I don't think he's aware that at least Taylor and Chrissy are expecting like all 3 all day, every day. That's a lot for a man. I mean, I know men can have a high drive. I don't want to get too like TMI here, but it's a lot. Anyway, they wrap up their date the next morning. And I think this seems like Taylor was maybe only in town for like the weekend. Like, they had their Friday night family date night. Then Saturday morning, she went axe throwing with Ashley. And then maybe, they closed it out with her Saturday evening date with Dimitri. So it seems like to be Sunday morning, they're making smoothies again. And Ashley's like, oh, it's your last day. And Taylor's like, oh, don't even mention it. Don't talk about it. I don't want to think about it. She's really sad. She didn't expect the trip to just go by so fast. She just loves it here. And so she, Dimitri's kind of in the background, like playing with the kids, like tinkering around with their toys. And Ashley and Taylor are talking, and Taylor's just like, I don't want to go home. Like, do I have to go home? And Ashley's like, is that a question? Are you asking me? Like, and she's like, Dimitri? And he's just like, what's going on? Like, what? And she's like, Taylor doesn't want to go home. Like, she wants to stay. And he's like, stay, like right now, forever. Like, and it felt a little like she was putting them on the spot. Like, maybe I'm sure they've had conversations like, how did your date go? But I mean, to really like think on it, sit on it, like, how do we really feel? Like, I get that it must be difficult to have a long distance relationship. I don't really believe in them personally. I think they can work if you've already have like an established relationship and one of you is like going away for an allotted amount of time to come back, or the other person's gonna meet you like in 6 months, like, then I think it can be worked out. But like really trying to get to know somebody, like, I know they've been talking over FaceTime for maybe a year, maybe, But there is really nothing like in-person chemistry and feeling that vibe. And I feel like, you know, it puts them on the spot to like, what do we say? And also, you know, I think they do like her. They feel that she's fun and energetic and that adds something to the family. But do we really know her yet to like invite her into our house with our kids? And also, you guys, it's crazy. Like imagine like I was out, because they've had like essentially 3 dates. That's what they've had. Let's say I've been on 3 dates with a guy and we hit it off. Like we are just, I'm feeling it. I even think he might be the one. And then like, let's say on the 3rd date, I invite him back over to my apartment. Okay. We wake up the next morning and he's like, I love it here. I just want to stay. I'd be like, what, stay for breakfast? And if he was like, no, I want to stay forever. Can I just stay? I would be like, what? Like, no, that's crazy. Like, well, I mean, yeah, I'm into you too. Let me play pretend for a minute. Like, yeah, okay, so you're gonna go home and like get your stuff. Like, no, I'm just gonna stay. Like, what? It makes me think like, what's the deal with Taylor then? Like, cause they say like, well, Dimitri's like, don't you have to like go home? Like, don't you have furniture, a bed? And she's like, well, yeah, I mean, I could go home and tie up my endeavors, or I could just stay. Like, don't you have an apartment, a lease, furniture, a job you have to like put notice in? Or is like Taylor homeless? Is she living in her car? Is she like staying in her mom's basement? Does she have a job? Like, see, then these questions, like maybe the Snowdens already know what the deal is, so you know it makes sense to them, because it doesn't make sense to me, like how somebody could just leave their life and never go back. It's crazy to me. And imagine if I actually said that on a 3rd date to a guy, if I was at his house, like, I want to stay forever. He would be like, you're crazy, you're psycho, and I'm glad to find this out right now. I mean, am I being like too suspicious, like overly cautious? But you know, because she's saying like, oh well, yeah, like I have furniture and stuff, but you know, nothing's more important than my family here. Like, well, I don't know, like if you have a lease and an apartment, a job, like good credit is important, and not like, you know, a good work history is important when you're trying to get a job here. If you, am I overthinking? It's crazy to me. It's crazy. So they're kind of like, I think they felt put on the spot. So they say, well, we got to reach out to Chrissy and see what she thinks, because like I said in my last review, it seems like maybe Taylor's kind of like jockeying for the first position to be like second wife, where Chrissy, they had met first and she's kind of next in line. So let's get Chrissy's take on it. They call up Chrissy and Chrissy's like, cool, yeah, stay. I think that sounds great. Throw away that suitcase. And I'm like, okay, so I guess Taylor's gonna move in. It's like, but what if in 2 weeks, now that you've really gotten to know her, you're living with her, because it's different, like I said, these vacations that, you know, like Garrick and Danielle are taking, and these visits that like Chrissy and Taylor are doing, like they're fun get to know you times. Like we're talking about like getting to know somebody, you know, on a bad day when work is like not going well or something happens. Like now we're really getting to know how somebody really is. This whole dating thing, it reminds me, have you guys ever seen that like Chris Rock like comedy bit where he says when you first meet somebody and you're like on your first dates, you're not meeting them, you're meeting their representative. Everybody here is putting their best foot forward. And let's get to like who you really are, and let's see what really happens. Like, I don't know, when the Snowdens were with Vanessa last season, can somebody let me know like what happened? Like, was it all great in the beginning? I mean, we don't know. I mean, when cameras turn off and the crew goes home because the season's over, I don't know. I'm rambling. I'm getting off. So it seems that Taylor's moving in. Chrissy's cool with it. There you go. She's in. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Are they all together? I don't follow any of these people on social media. Like, I only see what I see on the show. But if you guys know, let me know. Anyway, moving on to the Merrifields. Woo! Always the best for last. So we have this day, right, where Garrick and Roberta are going to go off on their solo date. And, you know, Danielle was supposed to stay in and do some business for Garrick, but she's like, forget that. Like, I'm going to the beach. I'm going to lay out. I'm going to do some thinking and reflecting. And I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that, Danielle, because it's just going to make you feel bad when you start really thinking about all this stuff. You're going to feel worse than you already do. Maybe you want to keep your mind busy and distracted. Go do that business Garrick told you to do. No, you're going to be on the beach and think about this? Okay, fine. So she sits on the beach. She calls her sister-in-law Samantha to kind of catch her up on what's going on. You know, girl talk, vent, like, So she calls up Samantha, and Samantha's like, hey, how's it going? How's the trip? How's everything? And Danielle's just like, it's hard. And she tells her the whole quickie story, like, yeah, last night, Roberta confessed to me that, on the first night we got here, I guess they like hooked up while I was like putting my pajamas on. And you guys, she's really upset, mad, hurt, deceived, like in terms of like, this is what Roberta did. Because she's telling Samantha, Roberta said that, that first night, like family's the most important thing and intimacy isn't like that big of a deal. But I guess she lied. Do you hear those sirens? I can't re-record this though. I have to go to work. Anyway, where was I? I'm sorry, you guys. So she's saying like, oh, I live in a city. It happens. Okay, anyway, she says that Roberta told her, that family comes first, intimacy is not that important. She's like, well, I guess she lied. Like, well, intimacy is important, but what about Garrick? Like, he has no culpability in this? Like, he just gets off the hook? Like, I mean, shouldn't family come first to him too and your feelings? I really hate when women always just like blame the other woman. Not that Roberta's like the other woman, like, she's gonna be a wife, but it's like, so Garrick's just off the hook. Like, we're not mad at him. We don't feel like he's been a bit deceitful. No? Okay. So, Samantha's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I can only imagine. I wouldn't be able to deal with that. I feel bad for you. Like, but how is it going to be when Roberta, like, comes to the U.S. and how are you going to feel then? And I think because on this trip, Garrick is spending a lot of time with Roberta every night, and he's off on these day trips and dates with Roberta. I think Danielle's really getting a sense of what's to come, like not having your husband sleep with you in bed every night, watching him go off on dates with Roberta. And now she's really feeling it. And she tells Samantha, like, yeah, it's going to be an adjustment. It's just, I didn't think about really until we got on this trip. I believe that. I believe she didn't think about any of these things. She just went along with it. And now it's bringing up all of her worst insecurities, she says. And she actually tells the camera at one point, if it were up to her, like her decision, she wouldn't be in this polygamous relationship. She wouldn't be in any polygamous relationship. But she's doing it because it is the path God has put in front of her. And I'm like, no, Danielle, that's a lie from the pit of hell that either Garrick has convinced you of or you're trying to convince yourself of so that you feel better doing this. You guys, I'm not trying to be like preachy and get on any kind of like religious soapbox, but this really doesn't have anything to do with God. This has to do with Garrick wanting to be with other women, plain and simple. Because, how do I want to say this? Women like Tasha and Ashley and maybe even Roberta are wired in a way where they don't feel jealousy, they're not uncomfortable. It is no problem for them to share their husband with another wife. They see the value and benefit of being in a polygamist marriage and family, and that's fine. I'm not condemning them, I'm not judging them. I don't think they're evil people. Like, that's fine, live your life. They don't have like this religion tied into it, and I can respect that. But for a couple like Garrick and Danielle, who are Christian and were raised in the church, her parents said, like, we didn't raise her to be this way. They know that this really isn't biblical. There's nothing in the Bible that says thou shalt live a polygamous lifestyle. It's Garrick trying to pull these things and, make it into, yeah, this is what God wants. I don't think this is what God wants. Like, don't drag God into this. Like, it's nothing to do with it. And that's, I think, what kind of bothers me about this couple. I can't speak to like the Winders or the Browns because they're Mormons. I'm not Mormon. I haven't studied Mormonism. I believe there are other texts that they have that go along with the Bible that I'm not familiar with. So I can't speak to their reasonings and their faith and how it ties in. But I can say, having been raised in a Christian church myself, like, polygamy isn't a thing. It's not. It's, it just, if I'm coming off defensive, it's because I just think you have to be careful of the things you do in God's name. Like, no. This isn't about God, Danielle, and Garrick. This is just about Garrick wanting to be have sex with other women. And maybe there's nothing Danielle could have done to stop what Garrick was going to do. He was going to cheat. He was going to divorce her. He was going to be with other women. But it's like, I just, no, it bothers me. And what bothers me also is Garrick is kind of giving this sort of like Bible talk. Okay, so let me get to it. So we cut to, you know, Garrick and Roberta are now on their date. They go like on a boat to go like, I don't know, swimming in the ocean. And, you know, he's just like, oh, you know, the Brazilians wear string bikinis. It's normal to them. And I'm just like, well, what Roberto is wearing isn't technically a string bikini. It looks, I would say, like a thong bikini, you know, but, you know, Roberta's got a body, you guys. She's very curvy. She's very voluptuous. She's got a really nice shape, and he's bummed that she's covering it up with like a life jacket, you know. Anyway, they jump in the water, and it's so funny because they can't take their translator app with them in the water. So they're just kind of these one words like, oh, you know, he's just like cold, frio, see, like they're just like, I gotta get over this translator app, you guys. It kills me because when they get back on the boat, he's just like, so love, are you having a good time? And she has to grab it and be like, see, like and it's the conversation that they're about to have is just like, yeah, this is why we need to speak the same language, because I think some things are getting lost in translation and you can't really express. I don't think a translator can like really translate the real feelings you're trying to express. So she tells him, like, yeah, I'm having a good time, but, you know, I keep thinking about Danielle. You know, I know she's probably sad and lonely, like, back at the hotel. And he's like, yes, sister got very emotional when you told her about our moment. And she's like, yeah, I know. I didn't tell her to hurt her. I just want us all to be honest and not, like, have any secrets or lies between us. And he's just like, yes, but she has to understand that, you know, we didn't do it to hurt her feelings. It was just spontaneous. And she's like, yeah. And then, you know, they cut to Roberta saying that in her view, and this is why I think she might be wired to be a polygamist, is she feels like if you're going to enter into a polygamous marriage, you shouldn't have any feelings of jealousy. Like, they shouldn't exist. Like, you should be given the gift of polygamy, like maybe the way Tasha and Ashley are, like, and so, but she sees that Danielle is jealous. She sees that it's going to be an issue and it's not just going to go away. And that's concerning to her because she tells Garrick, like, you know, if we all get married and end up together, like, I don't really see this jealousy that Danielle has as it's not going to go away. And I can't be in a marriage where my sister wife isn't happy and is always miserable and maybe resentful. Like, I can't be in something like that. And he's like, he tells the camera, you know, like, well, he knows that when they all get back to America, you know, that Danielle's definitely going to experience, you know, jealousy and those kind of feelings. And it's going to be hard for her. And he also knows that Roberta is going to have a hard time too, leaving her family, leaving her country, coming here, not knowing anybody, you know, the adjustments she's going to have to make. That's going to be really difficult too. But you know what? The only thing that is going to help these women is for them to pray about it and just rely on their faith. And I'm like, and again, you don't have to be helpful at all. You don't have to be considerate, thoughtful, you know, maybe help Danielle, like, calm her fears and worries of being left behind, making her feel special. Like, you don't have to do that, Garrick. Or maybe, I don't know, you know, your new wife has come here from a totally different country. Maybe you could, I don't know, learn Portuguese, make her feel a little bit more at home. No, you don't have to do any of those things. He's like how Dimitri thinks, like, when it comes to a polygamous marriage, as long as I'm taking care of you financially, providing a roof over your head, and I'm like servicing you sexually, then that's all I gotta do. Like, the women have to figure out everything else. Any other feelings, emotions that may bubble up, you know, over time, you guys figure it out. Pray it away. Pray these jealous feelings away. Pray these feelings of loneliness and homesickness away. Pray that God delivers you from it. Like, what an idiot. And so he tells this to Danielle, like, you know, Danielle seeks God every day. We're just going to pray that, you know, he'll deliver her from those feelings. And she reads it like, I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we can't really talk and get into, like, because what she wants to say, I don't know that she can express in such a way that it will be translated through this app to be like, I don't agree with that. Like, we can't just hope that it's going to go away. And she says, like, you know, we're talking about people's hearts. it's not just going to go away day by day, little by little. Like, and she's just like, no, I don't think so. You know, and if you can't stand up to her, and she says, and I don't speak Portuguese. So what they translate for us is her telling him, like, if, you know, Garrett can't stand up to her, and she tells him, like, if this can't be resolved, as much as I love you, like, I can't be with you. I can't marry you. Now, I think what she's trying to say, and maybe it's a stretch, you guys let me know if I'm like really reaching here, but maybe what she's trying to tell him is that if you don't stand up like as a man, as a husband, and be there for Danielle, then I can't be with you. Because maybe she, like I said, I think Roberta is, maybe she really is down for polygamy. She's obviously very interested in Garrick. She's into him. And I think she does care about Danielle. She doesn't want to have secrets and be sneaky. Like, she wants everything up front. Like, this is what's going on. You need to be aware. And she can see that Garrick doesn't really care either way. Like, Danielle can know or not know. We can hook up secretly or not. Like, he doesn't really care. And she sees that, and she sees how his attitude is affecting Danielle. And I think it bothers her. Is she trying to say, like, stand up and be a good husband to her, be there for her, be supportive, help her along? Or, you know, because maybe she thinks, like, is this how he's going to treat me down the line when we go seeking a third wife? Am I reaching here? Am I reaching? Am I overreaching? But because I don't think, like, he can't make, if she's saying stand up to Danielle, like, he can't make Danielle not feel jealous. That's how she feels. Like, but he can maybe help her along, like, make her feel important and special. He doesn't, though. And he says, like, oh, you know, I really pray that this all gets worked out because I can't live with without either one of them. Like, well, you seem to be doing pretty well without Danielle. I mean, you were about to divorce her a few years ago before there was even a Roberta. You know, and just like his talk just really, I guess, what would they say? Like, I'm triggered by it, you know, because I'm just like, this whole, like, oh, pray about it. She'll be delivered from it. Like, those jealousies is never going to go away. I think even we can know that by watching the Browns and Sister Wives. Like, the jealousy is never left like Christine. She's just tried to, like, deal with it and maintain it as best as she can. And I think there were times when Cody tried to help that along, or even when he was courting Robin, there was no intimacy, no kissing, you know, so that, like I said in my review from, you know, the beginning, like, it helps the other wives to feel safe, secure, comfortable, and not like you're just hooking up with the girlfriend who, you know, if she doesn't hear what she needs to hear, won't marry Garrick. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Am I rambling too much? But that was the episode. Let me know what you think. We're at 27 minutes. Okay. Rate, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for always coming back. Again, welcome to my new subscribers. I'm always happy to engage in comments, and I will see you next time, you guys. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.